Hey, what's going on, everybody? It's me again, Golden Blue Dude. If you haven't already, go ahead, hit that like and subscribe button. This channel right here, home of at least one college football video every single day. And I'll start putting out college basketball videos once the college football season starts dying down and conference play starts ramping up. West Virginia is actually starting to look like a pretty decent basketball team. Well, Brad Smith, the voice of MoTown. He is one of the most outspoken West Virginia journalists out there. He's very critical of coaches and players, and I get it. This is an emotional game, so when we have a bad game, we want to react emotionally, and I get that. But today he has issued an apology towards Jarret Doege. Now, Brad Smith, he's been super critical of Jarret Doege, you know, calling him incompetent, not living up to expectations, and a bunch of other stuff. And it has been a little bit of a disappointing season for Jarret Doege, but you have to take it in the bigger picture. West Virginia didn't have really any running game, and Jarret Doege really never had any time to pass. Whenever he has time, he's actually a pretty good quarterback. It's whenever he don't have time, that's when things start to get bad for Jarret Doege. Let's look over his stats real quick before I get into this. So in 2019, in limited action, Jarret Doege was 79 for 120, 65.8%, threw for 818 yards, 7 touchdowns, 3 interceptions. In 2020, 239 for 374, 63.9%, threw for 2,587 yards, 14 touchdowns, 4 interceptions. Fast forward to this year, 2021, 254 for 386, that's 65.8%, threw for 2,908 yards, 19 touchdowns, but 11 interceptions. So if you look at Jarret Doege's career at West Virginia, he actually has gotten better and better and better, except for the interceptions. The interceptions took a spike this year, and it was because we didn't have a running game, and he didn't have any protection. And the biggest argument, of course, was Garrett Green because he was a mobile quarterback. And I get that, but you could tell when Garrett Green was in the game, he wasn't about to make reads. He wanted to run the ball, tuck it and run, tuck it and run. And I am not slamming Garrett Green. The dude is athletic. He has a future. He just needs to make his reads. That's it. That's the final piece of his game. Now, for Jarret Doege, yes, he has missed some reads, but his wide receivers have also dropped a lot of passes and some bad route running. I mean, look at the Kansas State game. That very first pass he threw, yes, it was a tad behind the receiver, but it was in his hands. What happened? Went through his hands, bounced off his helmet, interception Kansas State, boom, 7 points. And West Virginia was still in that game at the end. And that's another thing that people don't realize with West Virginia this year. We were in a lot of 50-50 football games. Out of our 6 losses, 4 of them were 50-50 winnable games. And that's, well, Golden Blue Dude, we got to win those 50-50. I agree with that. But it's close. It's not like we're getting blown out all the time. Now, we were never in the game against Baylor, and we were never in the game against Oklahoma State, the 2 teams that played in the Big 12 Championship. But other than that, we were in every single game that we played this year. Kind of reminds me of Nebraska. Nebraska was 3-9, but their biggest loss was a 9-point loss to Ohio State. So they're on the cusp as well. West Virginia is on the cusp. Next year, if we can fix that running game and our offensive line comes together, we're going to have a pretty good team because, as we can see, even when we lost a lot of talent on the defense, it was still a pretty decent defense. So now getting back to Brad Smith. So he issues an apology towards Jarret Doege because he was super critical of Jarret Doege. And I know a lot of West Virginia fans were critical of Jarret Doege, but Brad Smith was taking shots at the dude, and I kind of felt bad for Jarret Doege. I actually defended Jarret Doege when I had Brad Smith on my show. So maybe he's realizing what I was telling him as far as, you know, Jarret Doege under pressure too much, not having a run game, and he realized the error of his way, issuing an apology. I mean, that's a step in the right direction, but in the future, you might want to think about toning down your emotional outbursts, toning down your emotional reactions, because if everybody did that, then it would just be a bunch of gossip back and forth. Hey, you're bad, you suck, we hate you, get out of here. No, wait, well, I'm just kidding. Now we like you, know, stuff like that. You can't go on emotions. You have to look at the overall picture, and I understand 6-6, that's a disappointing season, but look at the entire picture. West Virginia was in a lot of those losses. We have to learn how to win those 50-50 football games. Just think about it. If we would have won all of our 50-50 football games, West Virginia would be 10-2. We would not be having this conversation. And the great thing is, next year, if Jarret Doege does start messing up, we actually do have a legitimate backup in Nico Markle. This year, guys, we really didn't. As much as I love Garrett Green, I think he's a great quarterback. He has great legs. It's his decision making and run first, pass later, and a little bit fumble prone, let's be honest. That kind of makes you, hesitate just a little bit. Now, maybe he can develop his game even more, and he can make those reads, and he also can be a legitimate threat as a starting quarterback. So we'll have Jarret Doege, Nico Markle, and Garrett Green. I think we'll have a great quarterback stable next year. I think our wide receiver stable is going to be awesome, probably one of the best in the nation. And our running game should be a little bit better as well. Well, hopefully much better. I know, Letty Brown is going to be gone. But Tony Mathis, he looked pretty good in his last few games. So he's looking like he could be a spark for the running game. And there is talent in the offensive line. The talent is there. They just never came together as a unit. Well, they're going to have another offseason together. And going into next year, I expect them to be much more cohesive. So that offensive line will have the talent and the experience going into next year. And if you look at the season, the offensive line actually did get better, especially there towards the end. So I think that's a good sign for the future as well. So what's the lesson here? Well, first of all, you got to keep your emotions in check. And that's difficult. Trust me, I've made emotional videos as well. It's difficult, especially when you lose. Man, you want to go on a rant, and trust me, if you're a subscriber of this channel, you know I have went on some massive rants. But you can't straight up just trash talk one of your players. I mean, players have access to social media. You don't want to run off your players either. So, yes, be critical, but not to the point where the players are watching like, man, I don't want to be a part of this. Man, all they're doing is trash talking me when I have a bad game. When I have a good game, they praise me. You know, it's just you never know what you're going to get. You can't be doing this. Extreme lows, extreme highs. Extreme lows, extreme highs. And that's what it seems like Brad Smith does. It seems like when he's in a good mood, he's way up there. West Virginia, one of the best in the nation. Wouldn't change a thing in the world. But, you know, we have a bad loss of West Virginia falling into oblivion. We need to get rid of all of our players. Hit the transfer portal. That's what we need. We'll finally get his first recruiting class in next year. And at one point, it was a top 25. We had some decommitments. That did hurt a little bit. But we also got a great transfer from Clemson, Lynn J. Dixon. He was a 5-star coming out of high school. He had some issues on the team at Clemson, but he's a great player. So that's why I'm having faith that our running game is going to be much better. Yes, Letty Brown will be departing, and he will be missed. Hey, if you're listening, Letty Brown, you're going to be missed. Now, if you look at the apology that Brad Smith issued towards Jarret Doege, what exactly are you apologizing for? Like, were you apologizing that you were critical of him? Because if you read the actual article, I don't see specifically what you're apologizing for, other than, you know, Jarret Doege, you don't realize that whenever you come to West Virginia, you have this fan base that lives and dies West Virginia football, West Virginia athletics. And, you know, you get a great fan base, but you also get the criticism. Like, I didn't see really what you were apologizing about. So if you could specify that, that's the only thing I'm wondering, Brad. What exactly were you apologizing about? I saw that you apologized, but I never saw what it was that you were apologizing. So if you could clear that up so I could understand that article just a little bit more, that would be great. And maybe in the future, if you don't go off the deep end so many times, you won't have to issue that apology. Just food for thought. Just food for thought. That's all I'm saying, all right? Just try not to go off the deep end, and you won't have to issue these apologies that you didn't specify what you were apologizing about. Anyways, that's all I got for you for this show. Like and subscribe if you haven't already, and I'll see you on my next show.